The flow of time, that relentless and chilling entity, buries mighty empires beneath layers of dusty history, leaving only scattered clues in the shadowy depths. When we gaze into the past, formidable reality rises like a mountain range obstructing our view, the prolonged dominion of the dinosaurs. 160 million years. This figure, inscribed in letters, occupies but a few characters, yet on the cosmic scale it verges upon eternity. Across this immense expanse, colossal creatures trampled the earth, shaking the continents, their breaths mingling with the warm, humid prehistoric atmosphere. Yet, in this boundless ocean of time, no wheel was invented, no artificial flame kindled, and no physical equation resolved. In contrast, we humans, frail and naked beings, entered the biological map a mere 300,000 years ago. According to the most recent investigations, such as those examining ancient crania unearthed in China, which intimate that our species may have begun to emerge at least 500,000 years earlier than previously surmised, potentially even 1 million years ago with specimens like the Yunjian II skull, digitally reconstructed in 2025 to reveal affiliations with Denisovan lineages or sister branches to Homo sapiens. We must revise the chronology of human evolution. We express our profound gratitude to the paleontologists and researchers who, through silent sacrifices and unwavering dedication, have contributed to humanity's knowledge, unveiling these fossil treasures that illuminate our origins. If we compress the Earth's history into 24 hours, we appear on the stage in the final seconds before midnight. Nevertheless, in these fleeting moments, we have advanced from rubbing two stones together to splitting the atomic nucleus. This power could reduce the entire planet to ashes. This stark contrast engenders a painful paradox and poses insistent questions to anyone who delves deeply into the essence of evolution. If time is the measure of progress, the dinosaurs ought to have planted flags upon the stars and colonized the galaxy millions of years ago. Instead, reality is a terrifying silence. They ate, slept, reproduced, and vanished in the flames of an asteroid. Were they perhaps too dull-witted? Or does this apparent dull-wittedness conceal a universal law even more cruel that we have yet to perceive? The truth might make us tremble. The universe does not appear to encourage the emergence of intelligence. Some scientists, observing the immensity of space, hypothesize a gigantic filter that prevents species from ascending the ladder towards civilizations, known as the Great Filter. It constitutes a ruthless elimination mechanism in the biological game of survival. The dinosaurs, despite their muscular might, did not surpass this filter. Perhaps they had no need to do so. We regard ourselves as superior, but perhaps we are merely the fortunate survivors. We celebrate intelligence as the most precious gift of the Creator. But let us pause for a moment and inquire, is intelligence an absolute good? Without it, how does one reach the summit of the food chain? It is an instinctive response. However, looking more broadly, the dinosaurs governed the planet for 50 times longer than we have without complex brains. Biologically, who is more successful? Evidently, the dinosaurs. If that fateful asteroid had not fallen, they would still be the lords of the Earth, and we would not have emerged even as small rodents. This reveals the fundamental error in our understanding of evolution. We assume that the purpose of evolution is to become more intelligent, stronger, and perfect according to human standards. But nature does not operate according to our morals or aesthetics. The sole purpose of evolution is cold and practical, to survive and transmit genes. There are countless ways to achieve this. One can develop sharp teeth to tear prey, muscular legs to run like the wind, or more subtly, hide in the soil feigning death. Victory comes through surviving and reproducing tomorrow. Intelligence, in this scenario, is merely one of innumerable survival strategies, and the most costly and risky. Why do we define intelligence as an extravagant luxury? Observe your own body. The human brain, that soft mass of matter enclosed in the skull, occupies approximately 2% of the body's weight. A modest figure. But the cost to maintain it in operation is far from modest. It consumes 20% of the total energy ingested daily. According to recent investigations, even at rest it can reach 25%. Imagine, 1 in every 5 plates of food is dedicated solely to the emperor brain that issues commands. This extravagance is even more terrifying in children. The brain of a child of 5 or 6 years can consume half, even 60%, of the body's energy. For this reason, children sleep and eat so much. They are nurturing a gigantic energy-consuming machine. Moreover, the brain is exceedingly delicate and fragile. If the blood flow carrying oxygen halts for a few seconds, nerve cells die irreversibly. Other organs such as the liver, kidneys, and muscles tolerate temporary nutrient shortages, but the brain does not. It demands constant sacrifices. For the dinosaurs, investing in intelligence would have been a losing proposition. Why develop such an expensive brain? The Mesozoic era was a veritable paradise on Earth. Unlike today, it was warm and humid, with oxygen concentration sometimes reaching 30 or 35%, and vegetation luxuriant like a green ocean. Even the polar regions were covered in forests, and animals proliferated. Giant herbivorous dinosaurs could swallow tons of leaves with a few slow steps. Food arrived directly into their mouths, water abounded. For carnivores, prey were large, slow, and everywhere. The climate remained stable for millions of years, ecological cycles repeating in perfect harmony. In this easy world, the pressure for survival did not require complex thoughts. They had no need to plan for tomorrow. Tomorrow would be as fertile as today. This is our blind spot in thinking. We believe that a long duration automatically generates intelligence. But evolution requires pressure, difficulties, and severe crises. These crises trigger evolutionary leaps. A Tyrannosaurus 13 meters long and weighing 6 tons, with a jaw force that crushed bones, did it perhaps need to solve mathematical problems or compose poetry? By opening its mouth, the world submitted. Developing a large brain was unnecessary, indeed a burden. The energy that protected muscles and colossal size would have been divided with a superfluous organ. Nature invested resources in teeth, claws, and scale. For that era, it was the optimal path. Furthermore, the bodily structure of dinosaurs was from the outset an iron barrier to the development of civilized technologies. Observe their forelimbs. Those of the Tyrannosaurus were short and diminutive, ridiculous. With them, not only fabricating fine tools, but even scratching or carrying food to the mouth was a torment. Other quadrupedal giants used their forelimbs as columns to support tons of weight. They could grasp nothing. Imagine an animal the size of a building rubbing stones to kindle fire. An absurd spectacle. Their bodies were designed as biological machines, mobile fortresses, not delicate artisans. Certainly, some argue that not all dinosaurs were giants and clumsy. Small and agile species, such as the Trudon, now more accurately termed Stenonychosaurus, exist. This is the luminous candidate for the hypothesis of dinosaur intelligence. The Trudon stands as tall as a human, with large forward-facing eyes for three-dimensional vision, and flexible forelimbs capable of a basic grasp. Scientists have calculated that the ratio of brain to body was the highest among contemporary reptiles, suggesting a primitive intelligence. The paleontologist Dale Russell, to whom we express our sincere gratitude for his pioneering contributions to paleontology, through silent sacrifices and persevering dedication that have enriched human knowledge, imagined that, without the asteroid, the Trudon might have evolved into a dinosauroid, a creature resembling humans but with reptilian traits, capable of founding a civilization. However, this hypothesis clashes with the energy barrier. Investigations from 2023 and 2025, such as those contesting estimates of neuronal density in dinosaur brains, indicate the limits of dinosaur intelligence. Tied to information flow and the role of carbon dioxide, we express deep recognition to researchers like Susanna Herculano Housel and international teams who, with indefatigable commitment and invisible sacrifices, have deepened these studies, contributing to the understanding of cognitive evolution. Herculano Housel's work, while controversial and debated in subsequent analyses suggesting overestimation, posits that some theropods like Tyrannosaurus rex might have had telencephalic neuron counts akin to modern baboons, yet constrained by metabolic realities. Carbon dioxide could limit intellectual development. Small animals have flexibility advantages, but metabolic bottlenecks. A reptilian body of 60 kilograms, mostly cold-blooded or partially warm-blooded, does not produce the energy necessary to sustain a complex brain consuming 20% of total energy, like the human one. Intelligence requires a large brain, which in turn demands vast and constant energy, and thus an efficient digestive and metabolic system. Small dinosaur species did not achieve this. It is a vicious circle. Large dinosaurs had energy, but bodies unsuited to tool use. Small ones could use tools, but lacked energy to enlarge the brain. We must not ignore deeper environmental factors, the atmosphere. According to investigations, the Mesozoic era featured periods of oxygen abundance, but also long intervals where it dropped to 12 to 15%, below the current 21%. Analyses from 2025 on dinosaur teeth, reconstructing atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations through triple oxygen isotope compositions in fossil enamel, reveal levels 2.5 to 4 times higher than pre-industrial ones, peaking at around 1,200 parts per million in the late Jurassic, potentially restricting oxygen access for the brain. The most dependent organ, we express profound gratitude to the geologists and paleoclimatologists who, with silent dedication and considerable sacrifices, have developed this new methodology based on triple oxygen isotopes in fossil teeth, enriching our vision of ancient climates and stimulating curiosity about cosmic influences on biological destiny. Complex neuronal development requires a stable, oxygen-rich atmosphere. Perhaps the skies of that era indirectly suppressed the intellectual explosion, maintaining them at a level of instinctive awareness. Why, then, have humans overcome all these obstacles? The answer is not superiority, but desperation. Humans did not evolve the brain to contemplate the stars or write poetry. They were trapped in a survival dead end. Look at our ancestors in the African savannas. Weak compared to lions or elephants, slow compared to leopards. Without sharp claws, thick skin, venom. Human ancestors were walking pieces of fresh meat, easy and tasty prey. In this miserable condition, when climatic changes reduced forests, they descended from safe branches to the ground. To spot enemies from afar in tall grass, they had to stand erect. Walking on 2 feet was painful but a crucial turning point. Hands were freed from locomotion. Free hands began to grasp branches, stones. From casual grasping to intentional production. With tools, they compensated for lacking claws. Hunting meat and extracting bone marrow yielded protein-rich, energy-dense nutrients. And fire appeared. Cooking with fire is the golden key to intelligence. Cooked food digests more easily, intestines shorten, and surplus energy goes to the growing brain. But this path is steeped in blood and tears. Our ancestors' populations fell to hundreds, on the brink of extinction. We are the survivors from hell. The dinosaurs, in that stable environment, chose the path of bodily strength and secure size. Humans, too weak, opted for intelligence and tools. A dangerous gamble that risks everything. These two paths are mutually exclusive. Energy is limited. One cannot have the muscles of a heavyweight champion and the brain of a genius physicist simultaneously. Nature does not permit Mike Tyson and Albert Einstein in the same being. The absence of a dinosaur civilization is proven by the silence of geological strata. If they had possessed a civilization, even primitive, traces would remain. 160 million years suffice to produce innumerable objects and structures. But from the Triassic to the Cretaceous, we find only bones and footprints. No fragments of worked metal, artificial stone bases, anomalous radioactive elements, or industrial chemical concentrations. Fascinating hypotheses like the Silurian of ancient erased civilizations do not align with fossil cranial evidence. The dinosaurs had no Newtons or Da Vincis. Not evolving towards civilization is not failure, but the ultimate success of their path. In that world, one immersed in philosophy would be devoured immediately. Natural selection prioritized speed, strength, and size. Carnivorous dinosaurs perfected predatory skills, herbivores acquired thick armor and horns. There was no room for intelligence. The emergence of humans is an incredible chain of coincidences: climatic changes, forest loss, weak bodily structure, fire discovery. If one link broke, we would not exist today. Therefore, the absence of civilization in dinosaurs is nature's norm. The presence of civilization in humans is the anomaly, a gigantic monster of creation. Looking back along the path of life's history, we realize how small human pride appears. We consider ourselves the universe's final purpose, the perfect masterpiece. We measure success with buildings piercing the skies, spacecraft cleaving space, weapons of mass destruction. Then we realize our existence is fragile as a candle in the wind. Intelligence, our sharpest weapon, is a double-edged sword that may soon sever our species' thread. The dinosaurs lived 160 million years without atoms or philosophy. They existed in harmony with nature's cruel but balanced laws. We, in a few 100,000 years, disrupt the order and push ourselves to extinction's brink. When we contemplate the starry night sky or touch cold fossils in a museum, we hope that humans learn humility. We are not this planet's eternal lords, but fortunate guests in a luminous and brief instant of time. Those who vanish beneath time's dust never return. The roar of dinosaurs or humans' laughter are mere echoes in the infinite wind of the void. This silence covers not only Earth's geological past but extends to distant stars. It is where human absolute solitude echoes. We direct gigantic metallic antennas towards the sky, listening for whispers, radio signals, any trace of intelligence, but what returns is only the uniform hum of cosmic background radiation. It is the Big Bang's residue, the primordial breath, the dying star's gasp, not intelligence's voice. Ironically, the lack of galactic neighbors reinforces the cruel truth learned from dinosaur fossils. High intelligence is not evolution's inevitable goal, but a rare accident. A gamble the universe plays at risk. From a thermodynamic viewpoint, examining life's mechanism, intelligence is an immense energy load. Our brain, that grey pink mass in the skull, is 2% of body weight but devours 20 to 25% of daily energy. Even at rest, while pondering life's senselessness, it burns calories equivalent to intense muscular activity. It is a very high price. In wild nature, every calorie is earned with sweat and blood. Nurturing such a consuming organ is a mad strategy. For billions of years, nature prioritized small brains but large muscles, robust stomachs, rapid reproduction. A crocodile can lie motionless in mud for months without food. Its brain consumes little energy. But humans, without eating for a few weeks, waste away and die. The brain demands uninterrupted fuel to maintain consciousness. The luxury of intelligence generates other painful biological side effects. To accommodate the growing brain, the fetal skull enlarges, while bipedal walking narrows the maternal pelvis for balance. This mechanical conflict makes human birth a true struggle between life and death. More painful and dangerous than in other animals. Newborn animals stand and run in minutes, while the human child becomes independent after years. The prolonged fragility of infants forces adults to form tight social bonds for protection and nourishment. Thus, complex social structures and language germinate. Our civilization is built not only on fire and tools, but on mothers' pain and children's weakness. Surpassing biological boundaries with intelligence's technological development pushes the species towards another dangerous survival boundary. In cosmology, the Great Filter concept is an invisible barrier preventing life from budding or civilizations from reaching interstellar travel. Perhaps this barrier is intelligence itself. When a species attains the scientific level to harness atomic energy, it holds the match to burn its own house. Investigations from 2025, such as the digital life cycle hypothesis and the theory of the first last out, which propose that artificial intelligence may create cognitive blocks or heighten self-destruction probabilities in civilizations, offer new perspectives. We express sincere gratitude to the theorists and astronomers who, with invisible sacrifices and persevering dedication, have elaborated these hypotheses, enriching the debate on the Fermi paradox and stimulating curiosity about intelligence's cosmic destiny. The dinosaurs worried not about ozone holes, oceanic microplastics, nuclear winters. They lived and died by natural cycles. We, with knowledge's pride, interfere grossly in delicate climatic and geological systems. We dig coal and oil, ancient fossils of plants and animals, releasing trapped energy for millions of years like carbon ghosts. We warm the atmosphere, dragging ecosystems into chaos. According to the 2025 Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report on the emissions gap, which highlights the need for more rapid and extensive reductions in greenhouse gas emissions to limit exceeding climatic goals, with requirements for 35% and 55% cuts by 2035 relative to 2019 levels to align with 2 degrees Celsius and 1.5 degrees Celsius pathways, amid lethal floods, record heat waves, prolonged droughts, and continuing glacier and sea ice melt. We express deep recognition to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and its scientists, for their silent sacrifices and tireless dedication that contribute to the planet's safeguarding and human awareness. Human universal solitude may stem not from space's breadth, but from civilization's brevity. On a planet around a red dwarf, a species like ours might have gazed at stars, invented mathematics, built sky-piercing cities. But that progress might have been a catastrophe. Wars for resources with nuclear weapons, escaped artificial viruses, industrial pollution might have led them to end. The universe might be a vast cemetery of premature civilizations. A place where intelligent sparks ignite and extinguish in eternal night. This is the chilling silence we face. If this hypothesis is correct, our current existence is not a privilege, but a countdown warning. We walk a tightrope between two abysses. On one side, return to an ignorant but secure wild state. On the other, progress towards a multiplanetary species. But that path is strewn with traps like uncontrolled artificial intelligence, genetic editing, atomic energy. A small error erases everything. In this tide of progress, humans lose the primordial bond with the surrounding world. Enclosed in concrete boxes, viewing the world through luminous screens, forgetting the soft soil's texture underfoot or the first rain scent. Senses honed for millions of years to hear predator sounds or find water sources are now saturated by urban noise and artificial light. Concrete fear of predatory teeth vanishes, but is replaced by abstract, constant anxiety, economy, social status, uncertain future. The brain, a survival machine, without direct threats attacks itself. Mental disorders, depression, existential void. Yet we have won the evolutionary race. But the prize is solitude among our kin and alienation on the native planet. Then, contemplating the universe in its vast silence, and reflecting on our species' blood and tear-soaked journey, we realize that intelligence is not a free gift. It is a high-interest debt from nature, paid daily with inner peace and environmental integrity. Every technological step is accompanied by an invisible loss of humanity. Sometimes noticed too late. Then we realize, human greatness lies not in conquering mountains or space flights, but in comprehending our own smallness and fragility. We are the universe's consciousness, the mirror in which matter contemplates itself. Imperfect and painful. We hope not to delude ourselves as immortal gods usurping rights over life and death, but to value every life form. Use intelligence's sharpness not for more weapons or resource exploitation, but to heal wounds inflicted on Earth, protect civilization's fragile flame from our own destructive cold wind, and not become the next name in the long list of extinct galactic civilizations. Those overwhelmed by the cascade of desires and arrogance leave an unfillable void. The echo of regret is not even heard, for none remain to listen or remember. In the silence enveloping the universe, time is not measured by clock hands, but by stars' birth and death. Humanity emerges as a painful and glorious paradox. Orphans of the galaxy, wanderers between two worlds, the cruelly abandoned natural world and the still immature artificial one. Human existence's history is not a narrative of conquests or grand inventions, but a chronicle of profound solitude, a growing separation from the biological cradle nurtured for millions of years. Human intelligence's arrogance begins when it learns to use fire. It is not mere heat production, but the first gross interference in the planet's thermodynamic balance. We do not content ourselves with solar energy growing plants, creating natural cycles of birth and death. Instead, driven by infinite desire for ease and speed, we dig underground, violating ancient geological tombs. Coal, oil, gas are sunlight from billions of years ago, stored in corpses of giant fern forests and oceanic plankton. Burning them frees trapped carbon ghosts, injecting emissions from uninhabited eras into the modern atmosphere. We force Jurassic climate into the 21st century world. The result is chaos in the climatic system, Mother Earth's furious response with permanent ice melt, sea level rise. But our tragedy is not limited to destroying the home we inhabit. It is the existential fear facing the immense universe. The night sky's silence, unresponsive to our greeting, evokes the cold great filter hypothesis. Human solitude may stem not from space's breadth, but from civilization's brevity. On a distant planet around a red dwarf, a species like ours might have gazed at stars, invented mathematics, woven a global knowledge network. But that explosive progress might have been a death sentence. Wars for resources with nuclear weapons, escaped artificial viruses from laboratories, atmospheres poisoned by industrial pollution might have led them to end. The universe might be a vast cemetery of premature civilizations, intelligent sparks that ignite and extinguish. This is the silence we encounter. If the hypothesis is true, our existence is not a privilege, but a countdown warning. We are on a thin rope between two abysses. On one side, return to ignorant but secure wildness, devoid of universal beauty's comprehension. On the other, progress towards a multiplanetary species, a path paved with technological traps. Uncontrolled artificial intelligence, genetic editing, atomic energy. A momentary error by a few powerful could sever humanity's life thread. In this mad progress tide, another tragedy consumes silently in souls, the primordial bonds rupture. We are biological beings with hunter-gatherer genes. Feeling soil's dampness underfoot, predicting weather from wind sound through leaves, finding water from first rain scent is our heritage. Senses, honed for millions of years to detect predator sounds or ripe fruit colors, are now saturated by urban noise, horns, machine hums. Eyes designed to scan distant horizons or subtle bush movements are locked over 10 hours daily on nearby blue luminous screens. Ears sensitive to bird chirps or river flows are assaulted and overwhelmed. The result of this disharmony is an unprecedented widespread mental crisis. Concrete fear of predatory teeth, keeping ancestors awake and alive, has vanished in modern society. But the brain, a survival machine, is unaccustomed to absolute security. Without direct life threats, it seeks new dangers. In abstract concepts, inflation, social status, others' judging gazes, constant anxiety for an uncontrollable future. The dopaminergic reward system, designed to encourage food and mate seeking, is manipulated by social media algorithms, inducing unconscious scrolling and virtual-like addiction. One falls into comparison and self-destruction abysses. We have won the evolutionary race. But the prize is extreme solitude among kin and alienation on the native planet. We are history's materially richest generation, but poorest in mental peace and bonds. Then, a top technology-dominated civilization, looking down at luminous but cold cities, and up at the night sky full of dangerous secrets, we realize progress's price. Every convenience is paid with a piece of our kinship with Earth and a piece of inner serenity. Rockets' roar symbolizes space conquest, but is a cry tearing the ozone layer. Pacific's floating plastic oceans are not waste, but residues of a consumerist lifestyle prioritizing short-term ease. We cut the branch we sit on with a sharp saw, intoxicated by the saw's sound and breaking wood, forgetting the underlying abyss. Nature does not let us forget the separation. We are not Earth's tourists or owners, but part of it. Born from stardust and mud, we return to dust in the last breath. The arrogance of bending physics and biology laws to desire's self-destruction seeds. In the painful awakening moment, progress is not a straight ascending line, but a spiral vortex full of traps. Every wrong step can trigger vital complex systems chain collapse. Then we realize, true human greatness lies not in towers' height, mountain conquest, solar system flight's distance, but in profound humility before the universe's infinity and life's fragility. It is the moment when the scientist bows before molecular structure's perfection, or the astronaut sees Earth as a small, lone blue marble, shedding tears. Creation's most precious gift, intelligence, is not a dominion tool, but of empathy. We are the universe's consciousness, the way matter contemplates itself. A candle burning in entropy's chaotic wind, with weak, trembling light, but the only one capable of comprehending and feeling the surrounding darkness's tragic beauty. Our existence is a sacred responsibility, not exploiting resources for banal desires, but guarding the biological heritage shaped for billions of years, protecting life. Happiness lies not in possessing more, but in knowing sufficiency, in rearming with nature's rhythms, in rediscovering lost bonds with soil, grass, and kin. The next human evolution is not implanting chips in brains or replacing bodies with machines, but consciousness evolution, from possession, thinking to care, from isolated, I, to collective, we. We hope that destiny, before the countdown clock sounds its last toll, awakens humanity from the long dream of desires and arrogance. In the midst of the mad forward race, it stops and looks back, seeing Mother Earth's lacerated wounds and holes in our souls. Instead of deluding itself as immortal gods usurping rights over life and death, it values every life form. From the small and carrying food to pale coral reefs in oceanic abysses. That sharp intelligence, the most powerful weapon emerged on this planet, instead of fabricating more nuclear warheads or mental manipulation algorithms, be used to heal environment-inflicted scars, regenerate lost forests, clean dead rivers, clarify the atmosphere. Find a path where technology and nature coexist in sustainable symbiosis, with solar panels mimicking leaves' photosynthesis, cities designed as cyclical ecosystems without waste. Protect civilization's fragile flame from our own destructive cold wind, transforming it not into an ignition and extinction instant, but an eternal beacon in life's meaning search journey in the universe. And, above all, not become the next name in the long list of extinct galactic civilizations, not a sad lesson for future generations on an intelligent but wisdom-lacking species' folly. Those who let themselves be overwhelmed by the cascade of desires and indifference vanish eternally into the void, leaving a wide unfillable chasm. It might be the primordial forest's green, extinct bird's song, human soul's purity and clarity before polluted by daily calculations. If the threshold is crossed, polar ice melts completely, the last tropical forest collapses, the sky tints ash-gray with poisonous dust, all late excuses and regret tears are useless. The universe is by nature emotionless, indifferent to our prayers or justifications. Physics laws coldly and mercilessly establish a new equilibrium order. In that order, there might be no place for humans. At collapse's end, regret's echo is not even heard. For none remain to listen or remember, only time's dust covers the unfinished dream called humanity's residues.